The Tennis Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Onodic Fantasy. Sign the promo code SGPN to score up to $1,000 bonus cash. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportscampus.com Rhythm, sportscampus.com/RITHMM. And welcome, everybody, to the Tennis Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Game Podcast Network. It's currently Sunday afternoon, roughly 2:40 p.m. Eastern Time on August 25th. And Moroso is Scott Reichel once again going solo for this pod. Will be the first of two episodes for the U.S. Open, as we are going to be covering the women's tournament in this episode, then the men's tournament in a later episode. So we're going to have two episodes today. So get excited. A lot of U.S. Open coverage, and we're going to go through the usual format, going to go through the recap of the last couple matches that we ended up seeing on Saturday. Then we'll get into the actual preview of the event with some quarter odds, some quarter breakdowns, and some outright picks. Then we'll wrap up the show with the first round lock and dog for the U.S. Open. A reminder, since it is a Grand Slam, we're going to have an episode for every round on the men's side. Women's side will probably be back for the semis, maybe even the quarters. I might add in an extra episode there for the women. Should be fun, though. So looking forward to getting into the tournament. Before we get into any of the actual breakdown for the U.S. Open on the women's side, do want to remind everyone to like, subscribe on YouTube. Also, a reminder to rate the podcast on Spotify or Apple, so you can show support no matter how you actually consume the podcast, either audio only, or if you are on the YouTube live stream, or if you are on the YouTube platform afterwards to watch the YouTube video. Point is, though, you can leave support, leave some comments, leave some likes, and don't forget to subscribe. We're closing in on 500 on YouTube, so hopefully you can help us get there. Plus, a reminder, check out the SGPN merch store. We have a lot of great Tennis Gambling Podcast merch. We have sweatshirts, shirts, and mugs, all high quality, all very affordable. Recommend checking that out. Plus, we have a good discount going on right now for football season, because if you end up going to the merch store and use the promo code football at checkout, you'll get 10% off everything. So I'd recommend getting, once again, a Tennis Gambling Podcast shirt. Plus, a reminder, college football did officially start this weekend. So if you do want to tune in to the Sports Gambling Podcast and the college football experience, you can get some extra picks for week one coming up, and you can also get all of your favorite futures. So time to get into the actual recap of what happened in the last couple days. Now, for the actual lock and dog recap and for the outright recaps, I think we're going to save that for the men's episode to keep it a little bit more, I'd say, I'm trying to get the right way to describe it. I think just to promote cohesion, we'll save that recap for the men's episode. For the women's, though, we're going to recap the matches that happened on Saturday. So you had one outright, which was kind of shocking, and the other one, which was surprising, but Noskova is still a top 40 player, so not as shocking. Noskova got the job done, as she was able to beat Sun in the final in straight sets in Monterrey for a 500 title, so congrats to her. For Cleveland, you had a massive upset, as you ended up having Kessler get the job done in this one, as she was around plus 160 in the final against Haddad Maia. Looked like she was going to get destroyed, as she lost the first set 6-1, and then she ended up coming back and winning in 3 sets. The actual match itself was kind of a perfect summary, or a microcosm, of Haddad Maia's entire career, because she looked very good early, and you thought that she'd be able to coast, and then something went wrong, and she immediately fell apart. Kind of the summary of her entire career. Point is, though, Kessler ends up winning a title as a wild card, which is pretty rare. She's ranked 98th in the world. She's really, really good, and she ended up getting the job done to win a title. So congrats to her, winning at 250 in pretty thrilling fashion, 7-5 in the final set. Noskova's was more straightforward, competitive, though, 7-6, 6-4. Point is, though, Kessler is kind of a relative unknown. She's 25 years old, and she was able to go on a solid run. She ended up making a deep run in Charleston. I believe she won the title there. Then ended up making a deep run in Cleveland. So congrats to her for getting the job done, and congrats to Noskova for getting the job done against Sun in the final. Sun gave it a good run, though, as she was ranked 57th, made it to the final, but unfortunately did kind of run out of gas there, as Noskova did beat her in 2 competitive sets. So pretty fun overall pair of matches there on the women's side for the Saturday card. For the Sunday, I should say for the men's match on the Saturday card, not really that great, as Sunnigo did win in straight sets. I'll get into more detail for that match in the next episode. Point is, though, nothing really to recap just based on that. I think I will recap the lock and dog, though, for both episodes here, for the last one, just because why not? So for the lock and dog, ended up breaking even. Ended up winning the lock with the under, half a tie break at minus 121 in the Mickelson and Sunnigo match. Never really in doubt. Every set was lopsided. And for the dog, ended up picking up a loss, as we saw Sunnigo kill Mickelson, and the match did not go to 3 sets. Either way, though, time to get into the actual preview of the U.S. Open for the women's side. So starting off with the recent winners, Goff ended up beating Sabalenka last year to win her first ever Grand Slam title. You saw Swiatek beat Jabeur the year prior. Raducanu had the Cinderella run to beat Fernandez, another Cinderella in the final there. You had Osaka who beat Azarenka, and you had Andreescu beating Serena. Now, it is worth mentioning that you've not exactly seen a player repeat in the U.S. Open on the women's side for a while, as the last time a player in this event has actually repeated was Serena Williams in 2013 and 2014. In other words, Goff's chances of repeating, not great, historically speaking, so we'll see what happens in this one. Getting into, though, the actual quarters, starting off with the first quarter for the event. I'm going to go through the quarters first, then the outright picks and odds there. For the first quarter, I'm going to use DraftKings for the odds, but ShopRite, you can find better prices, and I'll mention better prices if I end up taking specific players. So Swiatek is even money. You have Pegula at 350. You have Andreeva at 550. You have Collins at 750, her last ever U.S. Open. You have Raducanu, former champion, at 11-1. You have Schneider, who's been really good lately, at 13-1. You have Samsonova at 25-1. You have Boulder at 40-1. You have Towson at 40-1. You kind of get the point. So first of all, Iga has won this event before. She's been fine since the French Open, did lose in the Olympics, which is kind of shocking, but the point is she has been okay since. Nothing otherworldly, but I do think we all know that she is definitely capable of really making a deep run, and the question is, do you think that Swiatek is on upset alert in this overall quarter? Not really. I think that her path's pretty easy, actually. She has a lucky loser in round one, then either Seville or a qualifier in round two, and then probably Pavlyuchenkova in the third round, and I think Swiatek would kill her too. So I don't really see a difficult path for her at all. She might get Andreeva in the fourth round, but that doesn't really concern me, and Andreeva would have to get through, for example, maybe Kruger can upset her, maybe Buskova could upset her, Samsonova maybe. Point is, the draw is pretty easy for Swiatek immediately in the actual first quarter. So I'm going to go with chalk. I found plus 115 on Swiatek. The draw is solid, and unless she faces off against Ostapenko, I think she's in good shape, because Ostapenko owns her in any surface, mostly on hard court, and I don't see Ostapenko intersection. So it's probably a good sign for her moving forward. But I am also going to take another person. I am going to go with Pegula at plus 460. Now, a couple reasons why I'm going to go with Pegula. First reason, I mentioned before, DraftKings has 350. I think it was FanDuel who went rogue and just gave Pegula out at plus 460. If you want to give me an extra $1.10, I'm going to take it. But we saw Pegula win a 1,000 title. She ended up making a deep run in the 1,000 title the 1,000 event right after it. Pegula's in great form. I believe she was one match away from winning back-to-back 1,000s on hard court. Then Sabalenka beat her. It is what it is. Point is, she's been in good form, and I think that she has the capabilities of actually making a deep run. As for her draw, I believe it's quite favorable as well. Looking at her draw, she has Rogers, who's actually about to retire. So Rogers announced she's going to leave the sport after this event. Too many injuries, so I'll see if Rogers can put up a fight in this one. Probably not. I think Pegula probably beats her. Raducanu in the second round is not easy. I'm aware of it, but I think Pegula can beat her. And then you're looking at either Bolter or potentially Martic. I think that if you end up seeing Pegula get past Raducanu, she should really be on a collision course with Iga. You could argue maybe Collins or Schneider could beat her, but the point is, based on how good Pegula's form has been over the last couple of weeks, I think 460 is a good price. I'll go with her as my second pick in the first quarter. So once again, my first quarter picks here, give me Swiatek at 115 and give me Pegula at plus 460. No long shots. Just give me the two favorites in this quarter. Moving on to the second quarter for the event. Now, this is going to be known as the Rybakina quarter, as she's the favorite at about plus 175. You have Osaka at 550. You have Paolini, the runner-up in Wimbledon and the French Open, at about 7-1. You have Mukova at 12-1. Nice to see her healthy again. You have Kalinskaya at 12-1 as well. You have Fernandez at 12-1. Ostapenko 16-1. Wozniacki 20-1. Haddad Maia, fresh off the loss in the final on a Saturday, at 20-1. You have Andreescu, former champion, at 20-1. Pliskova at 22-1, and you kind of get the point. So for this quarter, I feel like a lot of people are going to take Rybakina because of her hard court history. However, I'm not going to do it. I think Rybakina is a pretty secretive choker, and I feel like most people have kind of acknowledged it, but been willing to push it aside. She, besides winning Wimbledon, she really hasn't been known to fall apart in like the round of 16 or quarterfinals in the last couple Grand Slams, and I don't trust her. So it feels like Rybakina always has a solid showing early, and then as the matches progress, she starts really unraveling with the unforced errors, and we have seen her lose matches she probably should win. We saw it in Wimbledon to Krajikova, for example, as she was up a set and it looked like she was going to dominate, and then she immediately fell apart, couldn't hit a forehand, and she lost in 3. So I don't really trust Rybakina, and I think this price is, in my opinion, off to me. I think it's a pretty tough quarter, and I think that Rybakina has been too inconsistent recently for me to actually trust her. So I'm going to stay away from Rybakina. If she gets the job done, good for her, but I don't see any value at 175. Now, there are a couple other players that I have to kind of toss out. Osaka's at 550, which is embarrassing. Now, this line is an absolute joke. I know that Osaka is a former champion, but since she ended up taking that little sabbatical from the sport, she's been awful. And she's been overpriced in every single event. I don't want to compare her to Nadal from what we've seen for the odds, but you understand what I'm trying to say. The odds are way off on her, especially with her facing off against Ostapenko in the first round. You're telling me Ostapenko is number 10 in the world, Osaka's a wild card, and Osaka's plus 550, while Ostapenko's 16 to 1? Those odds make no sense. Osaka's an absolute sucker play. If she gets there, good for her. 550 is an absolutely insane price. I have to ignore Osaka. That line's a joke. That line's an absolute joke. I can't take it. That's going to take me, though, to my actual picks for the quarter. First pick, I am going to go with Paolini at 8 to 1. I found an 8 to 1. I think at the end of the day, with her making the final and back-to-back Grand Slams and with her overall form this year, I have a hard time passing on her because I think that she's really good. And the fact is, yes, her serve's not that great. The courts have been rumored to be pretty slow in qualifying, so I do think that can benefit Paolini. Does face off against Andreescu in the first round, but we know Andreescu's been a mess for the last year and change. I think she can get past her. Pliskova, we know, can beat her, but Pliskova's kind of a head case as well. Point is 8 to 1 for a player who's made back-to-back Grand Slam finals, who's been in pretty good form recently. I think it's a good price. Give me Paolini at 8 to 1. I am going to go with Kalinskaya at 12 to 1 as well. Looking at her overall draw, I just thought that it was a pretty solid path. Looking at her overall first round matchup, she has Davis, who she's a massive favorite against, then either Pera or Bonder. Then you're looking at a matchup between, if I had to guess, probably Haddad Maia, who might be fatigued after having a deep run in Cleveland right before the event. So we'll see if she's actually fit to handle a deep run here. She might get upset early, who knows. Point is, though, if you're actually looking at the overall matchups here, it's not bad. Maybe she gets Rybakina in the 4th round. Maybe you end up seeing Rybakina lose to Garcia, for example. But I like the overall path, and I think 12 to 1 is a pretty good price. Based on that, I am going to go with her at 12 to 1. For my last pick, I am going to go with the former runner-up. I am going to go with Leylah Agimi Fernandez at 12 to 1. I know Leylah did lose pretty early on in upset fashion in her last event, but I do think her draw is also quite favorable. Potapova in the first round, she's a favorite in. Then either Lubchenko or Fruvertova, which could be an interesting matchup there in the second round. But Ostapenko and Osaka are going to kill each other, and then you are looking at Mukova or Volinets. So that's a pretty tough 4 players that are going to kill each other early. I think Fernandez at 12 to 1 is a decent, I'd say, chance out of that, I'd say, section of the bracket. But for someone who's pretty good on hardcore and someone who's made a deep run, I like 12 to 1 before. Mostly taking some flyers, though, because I really don't trust Rybakina. And I do think, with that being the case, that opens up a whole realm of possibilities for the quarter. So once again, my picks for the second quarter, I'm going to go with Paolini at 8 to 1. I'm going to go with Kalinskaya at 12 to 1, and I am going to go with Fernandez at 12 to 1. Before we get into any of the other thoughts for the rest of the quarters, do you want to remind me once again, though you're brought to you by Underdog Fantasy, because Underdog Pick'em gives you a chance to win 1,000 times your entry, or you can play fantasy football the right way with Best Ball. Best Mania is now live with $15 million in prizes. You can have specials and boosts and all flex entries, and I'll probably end up doing something for the WNBA for the entry, or maybe even tennis related if I want to go for aces or breaks of serve. A reminder that Underdog does have tennis options for you. Sign up the promo code SGPN to claim your special pick and a first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 of bonus cash on a fantasy promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Circuit Survivor and Circuit Millions. Circuit Sports is back with Circuit Survivor and Circuit Millions, giving away $16 million of guaranteed prizes. And also a reminder that you definitely can use the promo code SGP15, save you 50% of your hotel room at Circa for sign-up weekend. Unfortunately, I believe the weekend does end today. But for circuit contests, you have to sign up in person between now and September 7th, and you also have to use a proxy to play from anywhere. We even have a deal with a proxy. If you go to proxythefootballcontest.com, we save you $50 with the promo code SGP, and you'll also get a free hat. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Gambling Podcast. Just finished my thoughts on the second quarter in the Women's U.S. Open. Time to keep rolling with the third quarter. For this one, this is going to be the Goff quarter, and Goff is about plus 150. Badoza, who also won a hardcore title recently, is at plus 550. Navarro, who had a pretty solid run in Wimbledon's at 650. Svitolina is at 8-1. Krejcikova, the Wimbledon champion, is at 8-1. Sakari is 12-1. Kostyuk is 14-1. Azarenka is 20-1. Sloane Stephens, former champion, at 25-1. Townsend is 25-1 as well. You kind of get the point. So Goff, we know, is defending champion. And the question is, do I think she's going to be able to make it back to the semis? I do not. I mentioned before that you've not seen a player repeat since Serena did it about 10 years ago. So you tend to see players after deep runs struggle the year after. Now, Goff is a pretty easy draw early. Matchup against Gracheva in the first round, and then probably facing off against, if I had to guess, Maria. Could be Sierra, though, in the second round, but Point is a pretty massive favorite in those two matches. However, Goff has really not been good throughout the course of the summer, and as a result, I don't exactly like her current form. Yes, we know that she has the ability with the home crowd behind her to make a deep run, but I have not been impressed by her play for the last couple months. And if I'm going to roast Rybakina for it at 175, I'm going to roast Goff for it at plus 150. I just don't see any value on her to win the quarter. You could argue the draw is favorable, but I really don't like her overall, I'd say, form. And I think the actual quarter is difficult. Not as bad as the second quarter, but I think it's going to be a little bit of a rough, I'd say, overall path for her in the grand scheme of things. So Goff, I'm passing on at 150. Badoza won a hardcore title. Navarro, we know, beat Goff in Wimbledon comfortably, and then she ended up making a deep run and lost later on, but she's been in pretty good form. Svitolina, we know, can be dangerous on hardcourt. Krejcikova can be dangerous, maybe not so much on hardcourt, but still a pretty talented player. Sakari has talent. She's been real underwhelming for the last year or so, but we know that she can make a deep run if she ends up piecing it all together. Point is, not the easiest quarter, and I think for this one, I am going to go with Badoza at 6-1. The fact is, she has kind of regained her form. When healthy, she's a very solid player. The problem is she's always injured, but she was able to win a title a couple of weeks ago, and I do think that's a good sign, an omen for her to potentially have a solid run here. To go through her actual path, though, for the event, Badoza is going to have a pretty decent path. Golubic in the first round, then either Townsend or Trevisan. Then you're looking at a matchup against most likely in the third round being Krejcikova, who's not very good on hard court. So I think it's a pretty good draw for Badoza. I think she can definitely make a deep run here. I think if you're looking at the overall path and you're looking at her facing off against maybe Azarenka or Sakari in the round after, the path to the quarter is actually really not that bad for Badoza. So give me her at 6-1. I like the form, and if she stays healthy, I do think she has some value. She won Cincinnati. She lost in the final in Cincinnati. She won the title in Washington. So she's been in very good form. So I do like the idea of her keeping that going. She's roughly minus 2,000 in the first round against Golubic. So I do like her chances of making a pretty, I'd say, easy overall, easy work in the first round onward. So I don't see an upset in her future in the first couple rounds. Moving on, though, to my other pick, I am going to go Navarro at 7-1. I am going to go with a home country person for this one. And when I already mentioned that Navarro was able to beat Goff in Wimbledon, I know that that is not the same surface, but the point is Navarro is not going to be intimidated by Goff because she beat her earlier this year. But she faced off against Blinkova in the first round. Blinkova, of course, had the 3-set marathon win against Rybakina in the Australian Open. She's been awful pretty much ever since, and she's been really bad for the last couple months. So I like her potential to make a deep run. Her overall section's not bad, though. Bogdan or Rus in the second round, then probably a Kostyuk, but Kostyuk ends up getting Kessler in the first round off a title. So I do think that Navarro might be able to get a pretty easy draw, even easier, if you end up seeing Kostyuk get upset by either Kessler or maybe Dart. I like Navarro's chances of actually making a deep run here. And I think if you're looking at or maybe facing off against Goff in the fourth round, give or take, I think Navarro could beat her. So give me Navarro at 7-1 as well. So once again, my picks for the third quarter, I am going to fade the favorite here. I'm going to fade Goff. Give me Badoza at 6-1 and give me Navarro at 7-1. Moving on to the final quarter. This is going to be the Sabalenka quarter. Sabalenka is the minus price favorite here. She's around minus 175. You have Zhang is at plus 700, fresh off of the Olympic gold medal. You have Keys at 9-1. You have Anisimova, who's been really good since coming back. Good for her. She's battled some injuries over the years, but she's been in good form. She's at 11-1. Vekic, who was the runner-up in the Olympics, and she also was the, trying to remember when she ended up losing, the semifinalist in Wimbledon. She's at 12-1 for the event. Kasatkina is 20-1. You have Kudermetova 28-1. Yastremska at 28-1. Stearns at 30-1. You get the point. So the question is, do I think anyone's going to beat Sabalenka here? Probably not. I'm going no, but I am going to go Sabalenka at minus 150. Found a 150, like the price. She's defending runner-up. She should be motivated after losing in the final to Goff in a match she was favored in. Point is, though, Sabalenka has won hardcore titles before. She won the Australian Open earlier this year, and I do think that she is in good enough form to potentially get the job done. She won the title. Actually, no, she has not won a recent title here, but the fact is she did win a Grand Slam on hard court earlier this year. She's in good form physically, and I think that's going to be the most important thing for her. So give me Sabalenka at minus 150, but I am going to go with her nemesis as the long shot play here. Give me Vekic at 24-1. She made a deep run at Wimbledon, made the championship match in the Olympics. Yes, they were two different surfaces. The point is, though, Vekic has been in good form. She's kind of regained her overall form, and she has the talent to make a deep run. I do think that Vekic, we know head-to-head wise, had some success against Sabalenka, so that's a hypothetical matchup. Vekic is not automatically screwed. She can get the job done. Decent path, though. Birrell in the first round should win that one. Then Fresh or Minin in the second round could be a bit tricky if it is Fresh, but I do think Vekic can beat her. Then you're looking at probably Kasatkina, who I think Vekic can beat, mostly based on current form, though. I just find this price a little bit absurd based on how well she's played for the last couple months. Give me Vekic at 24-1. So once again, my picks for all the quarters for the event. First quarter, I'm going to go with Swiatek at plus 115. I'm going to go with Pegula at plus 460. Second quarter, give me Paolini at 8-1. Give me Kalinskaya at 12-1, and give me Fernandez at 12-1 as well. Third quarter, give me Badoza at 6-1 and Navarro at 7-1. And for the fourth quarter, give me Sabalenka at minus 150 and Vekic at plus 2,400. So looking at the outright picks for the actual event, just went through the quarters. So Sabalenka's the favorite in the event at plus 240. Swiatek is a plus 370. Goff's at 10-1. Pegula's at 12-1. Rybakina is at 12-1. Andreeva's at 22-1. Osaka is at 28-1. Absolute joke price there. Collins is at 30-1. Zhang's at 30-1, Badoza's 35-1, Paolini's 35-1. Once again, shop around, you can find better prices. Keys at 50-1, Navarro's at 50-1, Mukova's at 50-1, Raducanu's 50-1, Svitolina's 50-1, Schneider is 50-1, Layla is 65-1, Krajikova is 65-1, and Anisimova is 80-1, Vekic is 80-1, Ostapenko's 80-1. You get the point. So to go through my actual picks, it's going to be obviously people that I took to actually win their quarters. I am going to go with some chalk here. I am going to go Sabalenka at plus 250. I am going to go with Swiatek at plus 370. I do think one of them, probably both, make it to the semis, and if that's going to be the case, I do like my chances. Swiatek is a pretty good draw. Took Pegula in her quarter just in case, but I do think that Swiatek would beat her if they faced off. But she's in great form, at least based on her last couple months, and I think that's Swiatek, who has done well in the U.S. Open in the past, winning a title here, and with the overall slow pace of the courts that have been talked about in qualifying, that does benefit Swiatek. So give me Swiatek at plus 370. As for Sabalenka, mostly based on her maybe having a chip on the shoulder, just based on her losing the final last year, but she is a very good hardcourt player, and I do think her draw is pretty good. So give me Sabalenka as well. So that's going to be my two favorites that I am going to go with. Now we go to the serious long shots. That was kind of how I broke down the event. I went with two short favorites, 250 and 370. Then I skipped the middle phase, and I went straight to the long shot phase. I went with Paolini at 6-1. Mentioned before that I do like her overall form. Made the final in Wimbledon and the French Open. So I do know that she has the talent and the overall stamina to survive deep runs. Now, she's not the most amazing hardcourt player. Not bad, though. She's been fine recently. Give me Paolini at 6-1 for the price. I did go Badoza at 6-1 as well. Like the price quite a bit. Most books had around like 40-1. I found a book with 66 to 1, which I'll take. I mean, why would I not take that? But I do like her overall path. I do think that she can make it to the semis, and I do think that with her overall form, if health is not going to get in the way, I do think that she has the talent to be really mispriced. We know that Badoza, when healthy, is a top 10 player in the world, and I do think that with her kind of regaining her form, she's dangerous. And I picked her to win the quarter because I don't trust Goff. So I do think you're looking at Badoza, who can make a deep run. 6-6 to 1, I think, is a good price, though, who won a hardcore title a couple weeks ago. Give me her at 6-6 to 1. And for the last pick, did go with Vekic at 125 to 1. Mostly based on the price, I said 80 to 1 on one book on DraftKings. I found 125 to 1 for a player that made the semis in Wimbledon and the final in the Olympics. I think her form is just too good right now to pass up these odds on. Is she going to win? Probably not. Sabalenka probably wins the quarter. Point is, though, 125 to 1 for a player that's been in good form for the last couple months, I think is a very, very good price. We know Vekic has a lot of overall talent, and I do think that she can beat anybody any given day. Give me Vekic at 125 to 1 as my series long shot. So once again, my picks for the outrights to win the event are going to be Sabalenka at 250, Swiatek at 370. Then we have Paolini at 6-6 to 1. We have Badoza at 6-6 to 1, and we have Vekic at 125 to 1. That's going to wrap it up for the actual outright portion of the episode. Now it's time for the lock and dog picks for the first round. But for that one, reminder once again that we are brought to you by Rhythm, because if you want to build your own betting model, Rhythm has you covered. They could also help you with once again, their own models, if you want to just use their overall predictions on money lines, spreads, totals, and props. You can build your own model, or you can copy a model that's already made for you on Rhythm. And a reminder that they will give you predictions and player props on pretty much every game. They also have a bunch of stats, research, and trends analysis to help you get even more betting insight. You can simplify your betting process for college football for the Thursday games coming up. You can also use Rhythm for golf and WNBA if you do want to cover those sports as well. You can build models on those or just use their predictions. So very, very useful in my opinion. And a reminder that you should be able to once again look at some really niche college football matchups in, for example, the NC State game against Western Carolina. A couple of unique games you might not have a thought on until you actually look at Rhythm. Claim your free trial, 7-day free trial, by going to sportscampus.com, Rhythm, sportscampus.com, RITHMM. We're brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is the now an authorized ticket marketplace at the MLB, which makes getting tickets easier and faster. Price in the Game Time actually go down closer to Game Time. And a reminder, with killer last minute deals all in prices and views from receipt, you can now use the lowest price guarantee as well to take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. And my favorite feature is the image of seat views. A reminder that you can use this feature to avoid any obstructions with your view to make sure you get the best price. Point is, you are looking at a spot where you can definitely capitalize on very, very good deals at the last minute, and you could also make sure that you get the best seats available for you before spending money on a seat that might be, let's just say, misleading based on the actual view you would be getting from that said seat. So make sure you save your money and make sure you end up using the features that Game Time has, the unique features that will give you the best experience possible. A reminder, though, download the app, create an account, use code SGPN for $20 off. A reminder, create an account, redeem code SGPN, $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Gambling Podcast. Went through the outrights for the Women's U.S. Open for the actual lock and dog picks for the show. Starting off with the lock, I am going to go with the matchup I actually mentioned before in passing between Minen and Frech. I am going to go with Frech on the money line at minus 150. It was minus 130 yesterday, but the line has moved a bit, and I understand why. Frech has been in good form. She has won 5 of her last 7 hardcore matches. The 2 exceptions were losses to Zhang, who's top 10 in the world, and Navarro, who's top 15. Both matches went to 3 sets. So Frech has been in good form, and she has been playing some pretty competitive hardcore tournaments. And she's done pretty decently for the most part. I think that she should be the favorite here, and I think she's in better form than Minen. So I'm going to go with her to, once again, keep the current form rolling to get the job done. Now, as for Minen, she has not been good lately. She has lost 4 of her last 6. She did beat Fernandez recently, but that was a gift. Fernandez, I believe, was serving for the match in the second set, choked it, and Minen won in 3. So her record should actually be even worse. But the point is she was able to upset Fernandez when she was basically dead to rights. Point is, though, she's not been in good form. Frech has been in pretty good form, and I do think based on that, the price is a bit cheap at 150. I think it closes at like minus 170, if I had to guess. Give me minus 150, though, as my lock for the first round. For the dog, I am going to go with Bogdan and Roos, and I am going to go with the over 2.5 sets of plus 135. They faced off 4 times. and Bogdan is 4-0. However, Bogdan has not been good lately, as she has lost a set, at least one set, in 8 of her last 10 matches. So kind of slumping, and even though Bogdan did win the first meeting this season because she's 4-0 in the head-to-head, that match was in February on hard court, and the match did go to a deciding set. You had back-to-back breakers in the second and third sets. So the match was very competitive. Bogdan did win. Point is, though, I think Rus can maybe get over the finish line in this matchup. But based on the form that Bogdan's in, and based on the competitive matchup, the ultimate competitive matchup with 2 straight tie breaks to end the match, I do think you're looking at what should be a competitive war, and I do think plus 135 is a very good price for the over 2.5 sets, and what I think should be a very back and forth affair. So give me the over 2.5 sets as my dog. So once again, my picks for the first round of the Women's U.S. Open. Lock's going to be on Frech money line at minus 150 against Minin. And for the dog, I am going to go with Bogdan and Rus over 2.5 sets at plus 135. That's going to wrap it up. A reminder, they'll be back once again later today for the men's preview of the U.S. Open. Until then, find me on Twitter at Reichel Radio. Find me on the NBA show, the WTA show, and we're going to have an MLB show actually in 2 hours. So if you want to catch the live stream there, check out the MLB Gambling Podcast YouTube channel. I'll be on with Lante. Until next time, though, good luck to all of you and all of your bets. Bye, everyone.